not a professor. I tried teaching a graduate and undergraduate, and I hated it both levels. So I'm just me. So I'm an independent researcher and such. Today I want to talk about something kind of unusual. We don't talk about this stuff too much at Oasis, but I want to talk about a concept that Rebecca Hensler and I first started working on about 3 years ago. Rebecca Hensler is the founder of a website called Grief Beyond Belief. And if you're interested in issues around death and dying and grief, that's the place to go. She's got a great Facebook page, a great Facebook group. But she and I were talking about what are we doing? Why are we creating these organizations that she and I are involved in? Before I get to that, though, I want to give you a little bit of background. And I want to talk to you about the free thought movement, and then I'm going to come back and show what's going on in a bigger picture today. We can go clear back to the 1650s when we want to talk about free thought movement, probably even earlier than that. This is not a history lesson. It's just kind of real quick background. We could say that Quakers were some of the earliest true free thinkers, along with some German free thinkers that we know about in the 1600s. And then later in the 1800s comes along the Ethical Society, and there's actually ethical societies as close as St. Louis. We don't have any here. But those are free thinkers as well. And then we get the American Humanist Association that started in 1941, and the American Atheists started in 1963, and most recently the Freedom from Religion Foundation. All these groups are doing great work even today. They're still in existence today and still doing good stuff. However, you'll notice one thing. Most of those groups are dealing at the national level, with the exception of the Quakers. Obviously, they have local groups. There's a good Quaker meeting right here in Kansas City. I used to belong to it. Before I became a Quaker atheist, I just was a Quaker. and you can be a Quaker atheist like you can be a Unitarian atheist. You know, it's not a problem. But so as I've been working, when I published my book, The God Virus, I got so many people saying, I need help. I need somebody to talk to. I need a group to go to. And there was nothing. In 2009, there was nothing. So what I decided to do, and try to work with some other groups, was to talk about something, a term I've never heard before, but Rebecca and I put this together, the concept of secular support networks. A secular support network, here's the way I define it, is provide a foundation and avenue for secular people to receive emotional and material support and give material and emotional support to others. Now, I didn't know that's what I was doing in 2009 when I started recovering from religion, but that's what I was doing. And since that time, I realized that's what our community needs. Freedom from Religion Foundation, the American Atheists, the American Humanists, they are not on the ground. They are not touching our lives every single day and providing us emotional and material support. So I founded Recovered from Religion in early 2010, and quickly from that, first thing that happened was we created local meetings. We've had 2 and 3 meetings right here in Kansas City since 2010. People meeting every month. And our 2 leaders that are here in Kansas City are not here today. But Jennifer and Cole still run those meetings right here in Kansas City. Hundreds of people have been helped by coming to those meetings and talking about their issues of leaving religion. That's what Recovering from Religion was founded on, helping people deal with the trauma of religious indoctrination. What do? I'm an atheist now. My wife still believes. What do? I raised my kids in a Baptist church, and now I'm an agnostic, or I don't believe any of that stuff. And that's what we're here to do, Recovering from Religion. And we've grown vastly. We have hundreds of volunteers running local meetings from England to Australia to New Zealand, all over North America and Canada. Hundreds of people are volunteering to run these meetings every month for Recovering from Religion. We also have the Secular Therapy Project, which, how many of you know about the Secular Therapy Project in here? Okay, about half of you. Okay, well, if you don't know about it, if you need a good therapist that will not send you back to church or pray with you, or tell you need to read the Bible, or you're wrong for being an atheist, you ought to be a Buddhist or a Baptist or whatever, then you can come to us and we will help you find. All you have to do is register. We're like the Match.com of secular therapists. We will match secular people with secular therapists. Seculartherapy.org is where you go to search for it. And we guarantee the people in that database are not religious. They're almost all at least agnostic, certainly secular, because we vet them. There's 4 of us, atheists, secularists, therapists. We look at every application, we vote on it. They don't pass our test. 2 tests. First of all, you have to be secular. But second, you have to use evidence-based methods in your therapy practice. There are seculars rather, therapists that do not use evidence-based. They're into woo-woo, New Age, or Reiki, or whatever else is out there. There's all sorts of New Age bullshit in the psychology community, and you can actually get a degree with this stuff. So we're trying to help that. We're trying to help you find therapists that won't send you there. So that is the Secular Therapy Project. We've got a dozen people working on that, and we've got 255 therapists registered and over 7,000 clients in that particular project. The third project, and the most recent one I'm really excited about, is the Hotline Project. How many of you have heard about the Hotline Project? Oh, good. Okay, not very many of you. Well, less than a quarter of you. The Hotline was started in April. It took us 2 years to get it up, to get the software running, to get all the volunteers training. We now have 150 volunteers answering our hotline. If you are going through a faith crisis, we are the place to call. And we're not a deconversion. We don't try to make you into an atheist or a secularist or agnostic. We don't try to tell you anything. We're just really well trained to listen, ask questions, and help give you resources. You don't want to leave church? Well, try the Unitarians. They might work. Go to the Quakers. They might work. Some really liberal Church of Christ. They might work. We don't care. We're there to help you. And so many of the people that call us are saying, 12 and 13-year-old kids call us and say, from their closet, I'm not kidding you, in their closet, with the door shut, in their cell phone, talking to us saying, I don't know what to do. My parents are making me go to church and I don't believe this anymore. My dad has told me he'll kick me out of the house if he finds out I'm reading any more Richard Dawkins. That's really what we're getting. People call up and say, I'm married to a very religious woman and she's ready to divorce me and I'm getting no sex at home anymore because she won't go to bed with somebody that doesn't share her faith. Those are the kinds of calls that we're getting. The average call length is something like 70 minutes long. People are just pouring their hearts out to us. We've had 4,000 phone calls since April. And a part of the problem is we just didn't have enough volunteers trained to do all the work. So we probably missed that many calls. But so if you know somebody who's going through a faith crisis, just needs somebody to talk to, you wouldn't go talk to your priest about this. You wouldn't go talk to your minister or your imam. You want somebody who's neutral. And we try to be as neutral as possible. And we've trained our volunteers really, really well in that area. So we see Recovering from Religion and all of its programs as filling an emotional need. And this is not a criticism of the Freedom from Religion Foundation or American Atheists or Humanists, but they do not fill that emotional need. There's no hotline to call up for the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Yeah, you can call them up and say, I want to sue my school district because they're, handing out stupid materials like Helen and I did last week. Helen and I had a lot of fun with that one. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Sorry, Helen. Anyway. But there's no phone line. So now we've got a place to call, if you will. But Recovering from Religion is now, actually, thank the Flying Spaghetti Monster, is not the only one. There are lots of groups out there now that are a part of what we're calling the secular support network. No Longer Quivering with Vicki Garrison started up in 2009. Even before we started up, she was doing her blog of No Longer Quivering. I won't go into what all these groups are. And of course, we've got the Foundation Beyond Belief. Rebecca Vidson was right here and talking, and we're starting to do they're starting to do their first deployment in North Carolina later this month, I believe it is. And of course, we got the great Kansas City Atheist Coalition started up. What did you guys start up in 2000? Was it 2000? Yes, in 2011. I thought it's pretty early. And they're meeting emotional needs on the ground. They're out there working with Micah Ministries and other places, and I know Oasis is too. So that's another group, and then a third group, or several more. I can put was Grief Beyond Belief that I mentioned earlier. Rebecca Hensler, and she and I are the ones that are working on this notion of secular support. And then, of course, there's the Clergy Project. How many of you know about the Clergy Project? Okay, not all of you. That's a place for clergy to go. People to go that are still sometimes preaching in the pulpit, but now they're an atheist. What the hell do I do? I don't believe any of this shit anymore, but I got to stand up and talk about it every Sunday morning. I mean, think about that. Your entire retirement, you've been a preacher for 30 years, you don't believe it anymore, and if you told your congregation they'd fire you and you'd lose your retirement, and you really don't have an alternative employment, it's a serious problem. It's a really serious problem. So the Clergy Project is not something I started, but we help the Clergy Project a lot, those of us in recovering from religion. It was started with Daniel Bennett and Dan Barker, Linda Lascola. They put it all together, and it's currently running. It's a very tight-knit group. Not just anybody can get in. You have to jump through a lot of hoops before they let you in, because they don't want any trolls. They don't want people getting in there and outing a minister and that sort of thing. So that's another group. And then, of course, we've got Sunday Assembly. That started in 2013, and they've got, I don't know, 150 or so groups around the country, and now we've got Oasis with 3 groups, and soon to be 4 or 5 more groups, and then the Black Freethinkers. I'll be flying to Atlanta to talk to the Black Freethinkers in their 5th anniversary. They've been going for 5 years, and I love that. So we're seeing diversity within our process community as well. So, the reason I wanted to talk about this today was to help you see that there's so much going on in our community, and you probably don't see this. I mean, you're not interacting with it every day. But I do hear a lot of people saying, well, those atheists, they always fight each other, and the secularists don't know how to get along, and I'm tired. I hear people say I'm burned out from working in the secular community. Well, the reason you're burned out is probably you haven't found the right group, and you haven't found what gives you meaning. What I want to say today is there's a lot of groups out there that could use your help. We could use your help if you're recovering from religion. Rebecca Bitsam and the Foundation Beyond Belief could use your help. There's lots of really cool places and cool people to get involved with. So I like to quote Daniel Dennett, the author of the great book Breaking the Spell. If you haven't read it, read it. He says the secret of happiness is find something more important than you are and dedicate your life to it. It's a pretty simple formula. And I see so many people unhappy in this world because they're so inwardly focused. They're not looking at how they can help other people. You gain a lot of emotional, mental, psychological benefit from helping other people. And there's so many opportunities for us to do that. And of course, not least of all, Helen and the board of Oasis can always use new and more volunteers. So don't hesitate to jump in and find out where your niche is and have fun doing it. This is an amazing community. And we are fulfilling, Oasis is fulfilling this definition of supporting, giving material and emotional support to secularists. We aren't out there suing school districts. We're not out there, protesting crosses and 10 Commandments. Although some of us are, don't get me wrong. And I encourage you to do that as well. But what we're doing is just as important. We're providing a new dimension to the secular world, a dimension that never existed until roughly 2009, 2010, when some of these groups first started up. And look at the amazing growth. Just with recovering from religion right now, we have somewhere around 400 and growing volunteers. 400 volunteers answering phones, running meetings, helping the Secular Therapy Project, and I dare say it's going to double in the next 2 or 3 years. Just for us. And look how fast the Beyond Belief, Foundation Beyond Belief has grown, and the number of volunteers it's got. So we are a community that wants to give. We want to give to our community. We want to give to our fellow man and woman. And there's just been no place to do it. You can't go to the Baptist church and volunteer because they'll kick you out. They won't even let us go to Salvation Army and work with them. So we go to Micro Ministries. Thank the Flying Spaghetti Monster for that. But they are an amazing group that lets us work with them. So find your niche and enjoy volunteering. So you do that and I do that for very selfish reasons. It makes you feel good. And if you don't feel good about your volunteer work, go find somewhere else to feel good about your volunteer work, but volunteer somewhere. Thank you.